Okay, so now I have my squares and I want to make my next round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work in the pink one with the white yarn just because I don't know what I'm going to make with that pink yarn yet. I don't want to waste it. So now I need to cast on to this in one of the corners. So you want to find your corner where you have the chain. I'm going to pick here just because that's where I'm at. And you can either cast on by doing a little slip knot on your hook first and then chaining one onto the little square. Hello. So we have our corner and I can not drop it. I want my working yarn behind my piece, so I'm just going to hold it back there with my finger, go in, yarn over, pull in, and then I can do, well, what I meant before was I can hold this and do one, and then I can do two, and then, so now I've cast on, but I have this little lump. So to get rid of that little lump, you can pull this through. Oh my God, I'm a bad tutorial maker, oh my goodness. It's okay. I'm just making it for you. There we go. And now I pulled through the hole, and then I have my working yarn, and that's when I can just make my chain. Now what I like to do is I don't trust it, so I pull this non-working yarn over, not usually that dramatically, but that way it's caught in between where I'm going to put my working yarn and my non-working yarn. And I'm going to start by, again, chaining two. I'm not going to count that casting on chain because that's really just me getting on here. And so now I'm going to chain two. One, two, and that's going to act again as my single crochet. Now the difference here is I'm going to work like this is the center of this guy. And I'm going to do another cluster, and instead of having our hole in the center, the corners are now our holes. So I'm going to work a cluster here. So now I have my cluster. So this is going to act as a corner later when we close it. Now, here's where like the crochet community can argue until they're blue in the face. You could chain one here, or you could leave it. For the purpose of the tutorial, I'm going to chain one. So I like to catch my tail, like I said, to crochet around it. So that's what I'm doing here. So now I have my chain one. Now my pink tails, you can see, are kind of loose. Now I like to pull these out for a second because, again, I want to crochet over this because I don't want to have to deal with it later. So I'm going to go in here, pull through here, and then pull through this way so that they are now getting to the next corner so that they can be crocheted over without like sticking out. So now you can't tell that those were in there really. And I'm going to move, so I have my chain one, and I'm going to move this, and I'm going to hold all my tails in my hand, and then this is my next hole. So I'm going to yarn over, go into my hole, yarn over again, and pull through, oh, sometimes I don't like that. Yeah, I'm going to not do the white one. I know, I just said I was. So I have my pull through. Okay, now I'm going to take my white one because now it's going to be higher in, and when I yarn over, it's going to be caught up in that stitch. So you can see now my tail is over here with that other stitch. So I'm going to make a granny cluster. What we're doing is we're making a corner. This here. So with the corners, sometimes I am paranoid and I just flop these in higher because I really don't know how weaving ends work. And I know that the more you go over something and the more difficult it is to get out, then the better it will be. So you saw I did my chain one, pulled this through. See, now I don't like that. Did I do a chain one? Nope. That's why you're a bad tutorial maker. Okay, let me undo this. Okay, let's try again. So I double crochet cluster. I'm catching this, chaining one. Did I say that earlier? Don't think so. And now I'm gonna catch in here. My tails are underneath, but I'm not gonna worry about them right now. I'm just going into this hole. And then here's where I get this back. So I'm gonna put this in here so that when I close it, now it's weaved in. Now I can go ahead and do what I was doing. So my double crochet cluster here, again working into the corner as the hole this time instead of the center. Okay. Now I have 3 double crochet, and you can adjust them by just pulling, because this corner is here. I'm gonna chain 1. And again, some people chain 2. I like 1. I think it looks nicer. And one more. And then I'm going to do my chain again. So I'm going to stop. Throw that over here. Do my chain. Hello, focus. And then I'm going to go in. So see this tail? If I carried this, it's going to go over top of here. That's what I meant before. So now, like I did before, I'm going to pull this a little loose so that I don't undo my work by accident. Go in here and weave in just under those couple chains so that I can get these tails to the corner. In reality, these are thoroughly weaved in, right? Like we did it down here, we've already crocheted over this, so I could, in theory, cut it out from here. And I might, actually. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this as my cutting point and getting rid of those tails. So now it's inside that when I tighten it up a little. I still have my white tail to deal with, but I'm not going to crochet over that white tail over here or it's going to leave a weird mark. So now I have to do again another cluster. Oops, and that's where I like to bring it in. So right here is where I bring my tail back so I can crochet over it. Now if you're like, Emily, that tail bit seemed real confusing, don't worry about it. It is an extra step. If you don't crochet over your tails, you just weave them in at the end like I had been doing with the pink ones. I have 3 and I can double check. 1, 2, 3. Pull closer and I chain 1. Okay, so again, okay, I'm gonna pause, do this corner because you get the picture. You're just doing 2 double crochet, or sorry, you're doing 2 granny clusters, so 6 total double crochet in each of the corners with a chain in between the clusters. Now again, some people don't even put the chain here. It really is just up to you, your yarn, your preference. I'm going to pause, do this corner, and join you when I get back to this corner. Now I've got that corner completely done, and now I'm just missing this side of this corner. So I'm going to chain 1, and again, I'm working in this hole. So the corner hole, I'm going to make a cluster like normal. So again, 3 double crochets to cluster. And then now I've got a corner, but they're not connected. So to connect them, you can chain 1, go into that double, the 2 you did at the beginning. Again, I'm going to do it the lazy way. I'm just going to go in that way. And now I've got my corner here. So now I want to show you how you can keep going with the same color. So I'm going to keep going in white so that the pink is the only color change. So that center is going to be the only change. So I'm going to do chain 2 for my first double crochet, and I'm going to rotate my work. So now I'm working in this hole, and I'm going to work on the right side of this corner. And now do another one. Chain 1. So that's my first cluster. Yes, it's a little funny. Sometimes if you don't love the way that looks, you can go from here when you ended the round to turning it around, turning your work, and I'm gonna go this time into here by slip stitching, and now I've got, here's where I slip stitch, and I'll do my 2 double crochets. So it does leave a little different kind of look, but now I can see that I'm in that area better. Chain 1. So now we have our corner, reverse corner of our third round. So we have 3 here, 3 here, and that's going to be our corner for this round. Now we have our next hole, which is no longer a corner. So we're just going to work 3 double crochets in here. Now what I do typically is I don't see how this has that like gap from the chain that we did here. I don't like that unless I'm doing 2 granny crochets into them. So what I'm going to do is this is going to create this gap on this round. So instead of chaining one, I'm just going to go straight into my double crochet round here, because then that doesn't leave such a big gap. It'll still have the gap, but it won't be so open. And I don't like my granny squares being nice and spacey, but again, I keep saying but again a lot. It's all preference. So if you like it, you do it. It takes time to know what you like. So you can see I did a granny cluster here, and I just did one. And now I'm going into my corner, and I'm working my corners like usual, doing a granny cluster, granny stitch, whatever, the 3, and then I'll do a chain here because that's going to be a corner, so I'm going to do 2 into that. So now you can see I've got my 2 corners. This is the part that changes this round. So now I'll do that part one more time for you so you can see it goes right here. I'm going to just do 1 granny cluster into here. And then you finish your corners as normal, and I'll join you when I get back to this one. Okay, so now I'm back. This is my final cluster that I need to work on. And just like when we closed the corner before, we're gonna do the cluster like normal. I'm gonna try to work up here a little more so I can see better. Now I've got my cluster done, and then to close the round you just slip stitch, and if this is the end of the square, which it can be, you can again cut your yarn, because I'm kind of playing yarn chicken here. If I did another round, I'm gonna go ahead and cut my yarn appropriate length, a couple inches, and tie off. So go through my little thing, tie it closed, and now we just need to weave in our ends. To weave in my end, now that I just have this last bit, I'm gonna go ahead and go through the stitches that I just did. Now I like to then bring it around this way to kind of close that up, and then it has like a little bump that I don't love, so I'm trying to avoid that bump. And then I go in this way and weave in the ends till I'm happy. And once I feel like, if I was joining this with another thing, I would just weave in my end until I was in the corner, and then when I join it, this will get caught in between the next part. But now you can see I have a nice little teeny tiny square with 1, 2, 3 rounds, and it's just a nice little shape that you can then build out into many different things. And this is one of the most basic things to make, but it's nice because it gives you practice with those stitches. Now this is the end that I stopped caring about before, so I can just go ahead and snip that, and then it gets pushed under these little grannies here, and that is the end of my square tutorial. Wow, that was so long, So hopefully it was nice and detailed and you're able to follow along and you made your own little fun square. Bye.